Hi, I'm Dave Kraus here with the tech question of the day for February 13th, 2017. And this is on the topic of smartphones, more of an A-plus oriented question. And it's a multiple choice question. So here we go. A customer, Joe, complains that his smartphone is experiencing very short battery life. He has only been using the smartphone for a few weeks and recently installed several apps. Which of the following is the most likely cause of the short battery life? Is it A, a bad SD card? Or is it B, a weak signal? Perhaps C, slow data transfer rate? Or D, unauthorized root access? And there's only one correct answer. This is a multiple choice question looking for the most likely cause. So you want to pick the best answer, and I'll give you a moment to pause the video now, and I'll be back with the answer in just a moment. Okay, and the best answer here is going to be D, unauthorized root access. That is the best of the listed answers. There's other possibilities as well. Keep that in mind, but of the listed answers, that's the best one for very short battery life. Now let's remember, Joe has only been using this smartphone for a short time, but has just installed several apps. And therein lies the key here. That's the key for this. That's what we're looking for. Several apps have just been installed. And you never know. There might have been another app piggybacking one of the apps that was installed, or perhaps some type of Trojan was going on, and something else got installed that got root access to the phone. Now, there's several things you want to check on this smartphone. You want to check, first of all, was the phone rooted previously? Did Joe root it? Or was it rooted by another program and by a separate app, perhaps? Then you're going to want to check what apps are being accessed, how the root is being accessed, what's being written to, and what this root access is doing, this unauthorized root access. So to do that, we're going to want to go to the phone itself. And here's an example of a phone. And there's a lot of ways to check for root access. And one of the ways is to use a permission type program. For example, I have Permission Explorer here. And if we open that guy up, I'm just going to say no to the database. I haven't run this in a little bit. But that's going to bring up what apps have which permissions to different parts of the phone. And you could do it by category in this app. You could do it by application or by permissions themselves. And that's what I'm most interested in this case. I want to see things like access network state, read and write to external storage, boot information, writing to memory. If we scroll down, we'll see more of that. Write settings, read phone state, all that. That's what I want to see. And I want to see which apps have access to those types of things. And we can go deeper with that directly to root access. And you can also get some root checkers. You can have, there's apps out there that'll check if your phone has been rooted or if another app is trying to get unauthorized root access or is getting unauthorized root access. So programs like this could be very helpful, and you're going to want to do that. You're going to want to scan the phone and see what's going on. If we go back to categories, we can see down here contacts. 75 apps are making use of my contacts. This is kind of a side note, but it's worth mentioning because, you know, who do you want to have access to your contacts? Really, nobody. So my contacts database is actually empty, and I have a separate contacts database that's encrypted, which the apps don't have access to. So that's one way around that. But this is a great way of checking all this. Who's using your phone? What apps are using your phone and how? So unauthorized root access is going to be the best answer here. And that could be making the phone do things that the user doesn't want. Perhaps sending out emails or making connections to websites or doing something malicious. You don't know. You want to find out, though. And, of course, you're also going to want to do a virus scan on this particular device. and double check that guy for any malware. And most likely, if you do suspect unauthorized root access, really the phone should be re-imaged. It should be brought back to the factory image. That's the best way, and then get the apps that are needed back on there. Even though it's only been used for a few weeks, that's going to be the best thing to do. Now, very short battery life could also be caused by other things. You know, it could be a problem with the battery itself, but that wasn't listed in the answers. It could be that certain apps are using a lot of power, a lot of CPU power, a lot of graphic power, a lot of memory power, and therefore they're sapping the life out of the battery, but that's also not listed. But that is common. GPS apps, games, and so on. The other answers that are listed, we have bad SD card. And a bad SD card, that's not going to be a good answer because that's really your extra memory. And, you know, your main memory, if that goes bad, well, that could cause a problem. Probably the phone won't work. But the SD card itself, the extra memory, probably not that big of a deal. So that one we're going to knock off right off the bat. And you can test that. You can just pull the SD card if you want. You know, we're not talking about the SIM card or anything like that. We're just talking about the SD card. If it is removable, you could pull it to test it and see if that's the cause for the short battery life. But again, chances are it's not. Weak signal, not the best answer. But if you do have a weak signal, then your antenna has to work harder to get wireless access. And so therefore that can be a drain on the battery, but not nearly as much as someone who has unauthorized root access and is doing malicious things with your phone. Slow data transfer rate, that's no good also. Now, if you have a slow data transfer rate, that could be a result of a low battery. It could be a result of too much CPU power being used. It could be a result of apps doing things that you don't want or are just using too much power and then your data transfer rate suffers. But that's not really a cause of short battery life. It's more intertwined with it sometimes or could be a result of it. So the best answer, again, unauthorized root access. And that's the answer for today for the tech question of the day. I'm Dave Prowse. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to contact me at www.davidlprowse.com.